Hello, this is a training video for the VST47. Arborist unit with a bin on it. Let's get started. So first of all, you need to do some checks around the cab. So you have an owner's manual for the truck. This shows you how to operate the truck and also the service requirements with the truck. That you'll keep in the cab at all times. You then also have a smart truck system manual. This is a smart truck system, which we'll be discussing in a minute. This should be in the truck. Again, tells you the operations of how to use it. You should then have your EWP logbook. This should be filled out every single day by all operators who are using the unit, just to check for leaks, cracks, breakages, etc., if it's able to be used on site. We will be doing a pre-check later. Again, stays in the cab. Very important piece of information which you should read thoroughly before you operate the machine is your Versalift operator's manual. In here it shows you how to operate the machine. It also shows you different maintenance, different checks, greasing maintenance. Very important is emergency procedures of how to get down to rescue an operator, or how to get down yourself in the event of an emergency. So this again must be read from cover to cover and kept in the cab at all times. When you're looking around the cab, you've got decals up here telling you to secure the device for travel, ensure your inverter is switched off, legs are stowed, and your travel height, which is very important. You should also make sure that your truck is compliant with the COF servicing, etc. And on the back window, you have your certifications for your boom. These all must be compliant before you leave to do your job. Okay, let's talk about the smart truck system. When you put your ignition on, you will see the smart truck system come alive. It tells you what to do. Just touch your screen to begin. Smart truck screen contains your PTO, your beacons, work lights, inverter, and your bin operations. You can undo your tail trips and put your bin up and down. The system is now available. The engine is running. The handbrake has to be on and neutral. When I press the on button, it goes from red to green. The RPMs will come up. Now my PTO is engaged. It also will show the PTO symbol on your dash to tell you that your PTO is actually engaged. You can switch off the beacons if you don't want them on, especially if you're working at night in a residential area. Put on your work lights, go into your auxiliary screen. You can switch on an inverter. I'll explain more about the inverter when we do a walk around. And you go into your bin controls. Again, you can open your tail trip and you can raise your bin up and down, providing that the boom is in a position allowing you to do so. The cog symbol here is basically your hour meter, diagnostics and settings. You won't be able to get in your settings because this needs a password. Hour meters just show you your engine PTO hours, smart PTO hours if fitted, and your total PTO hours. In your diagnostics, which again you won't really need to access, just if you have a problem, you can do your truck diagnostics and your chip bin diagnostics. These basically say where the problem could be. Scroll through these and it gives you your plug number and your pin number of inputs. Same thing with your chip bin. So basically you're going to use main, auxiliary and bin as your main three screens that you'll use. So we can go and switch everything off now. Inverter off, work lights off, PTO off. In the event of a screen failure, so that you can't engage your PTO, There is a control box underneath here located on the dash, and it has an override button on it. If I come over here, now the engine is running, I'll look for the button and I'll just press the button in, it will illuminate red, and then after a few seconds the PTO will engage. If you do switch it off on over there, you must switch it off from here as well, because the screen will not switch it off. Okay, so before we leave the yard, we want to go around and do a pre-check. It's pointless going to a yard if you find an oil leak or damage to the machine where you have to come back to the yard to get it fixed. So getting out the cab, we've checked that the cab's okay, all my operator's manuals and everything in there, it's certified. On that side, we're all ready to go. I'm going to check around the front wheel. Wheel nut indicators, make sure they're aligned, make sure there's no damage to my wheel rim, my tires are correctly inflated, and the tread is good. Walking around here now, I have a fire extinguisher. The certification on that is okay. We've got angle sensors, which I want to make sure aren't damaged or broken. Decals, make sure they're all readable and there's no oil leaks or damage around your jacks. Emergency stop, push that in, make sure it releases. You have the buttons here, make sure they all feel nice and return out. There's no sticking buttons, no damage around the rubber surrounds. Again, you've got a angle sensor, make sure that's not damaged or broken. Security of the toolboxes, make sure they're nice and closed and tight. You have critical bolts under here, which were blued to make sure it's just a quick visual inspection. If they're out of line, they're loose. They must be tightened or replaced before leaving the yard. Security of your handrail, security of your deck access ladder. All cool around here. Just make sure there's no oil leaks around this area. You have your turret bolts on here. Again, alignment, that's what you're looking for, out of alignment. Damage to your bin. Cone holder, make sure that's secured to your chassis. Stabilizer pads, make sure you have them and they are locked in securely. Mud guards, again secure, as well as a mud flap. Wheel nut indicators, wheel rim, tire condition, inner and outer. Wheel chocks, security, and 2 of. Sign holder, we're making sure this is secure. If you have signs in there, make sure they're secure and they're not going to fall out. Earthing point down here. And you've also, at the bottom, at the underside here, you have a bin prop. This is secured up, make sure that's nice and locked up, nice and safe out of the way, not damaged. You have a night light here. Make sure your rear door is secured, locked up here. Pins are secured up the top there. The bin trips are activated, no damage. Work lights, no damage. Bin access steps, no damage. Work light round here. Check your rear lights, no breakage. You have a hand wash here. This is purely for hand wash or burns. Make sure you have water in it. And a soap dispenser. Again, checking underneath, checking for security on the chock holders, mud guards, mud flaps, wheel rim, wheel nut indicators, your hubbo, make sure that's secure and reading correctly. Inner wheel, you have critical bolts again underneath, which are blued. Just check those for alignment. Stabilizer pad, security. This lock here is basically to hold your bin door open, which we'll explain later when you're going through the process of tipping. Just make sure it's correctly working. Check your batteries are secure and full with electrolyte. Also your isolator switch. Only isolate if you're not using the vehicle for a period of days. You've also got some 24-volt outlets or a jump start for the truck if the batteries are flat. Security of your door, make sure it's locked. Again, access to your deck, make sure there's no damage, and security, handrail security and damage. Angle finders, inclinometers, correct word. We're looking at the buttons here as well as we did the other side. I'll explain the operation of these later. Emergency stop, push in and release. Security of your vise. You also have an airline underneath here, and looking for damage around your leg. No oil leaks, no damage, it's not hanging down. Over to your front wheel. Wheel nut indicators again, wheel rim, tyre condition with your treads. Working around the front, looking at your lights on top of the cab cage and your flashing lights on front of the cabin here. These are some rescue points and some tie down points which are rated. Okay, now we'll do a pre-check on the lower controls and the bucket controls. Before you start in the morning, we need to check our hydraulic oil level. So with the machine in this condition, so your boom is stowed, your bin is down, both outriggers are fully retracted, we need to check your hydraulic oil level. That is your tank there, which is part of the turret. You see two gauges, an upper and lower. It should be halfway up in the top gauge. As long as it's in this level and you can still see it in the bottom one, then you're good to go. So we're carrying on with our pre-checks, and this is with the engine stopped. So we're going to check these levers, make sure they return back to neutral position. This is very important. If they are stuck in one position, as soon as you engage the PTO, a movement could move. This one should lock in the upper control position. These are your service controls or your emergency controls. To use them, you just hold it down. That should lock in the position, so that is correct. Check these as well. Make sure the switches spring back. And there's a light which I should talk about later. Okay, checking your bucket controls. Again, the engine is not running. We will do a flight shortly. Check your main joystick. Make sure everything returns back to the neutral position. Also a dead man under here, neutral position. These should lock into place. To move these, raise up the bottom. Make sure it returns back to neutral and locks in. You have an emergency stop. Make sure that releases. Then you have air switches around here, which should spring back up. And finally, your tool switch, which is on and off. So carrying on our pre-checks up here, we're looking at any damage to the covers around the bucket itself, harness points, condition of the boom, make sure there's no chips or damage on there, security of the wear pads, any bolts missing or loose. This is an insulated section. We need to make sure this isn't damaged. The boom strap, which should be strapped before whenever you're traveling. So before you leave the yard, make sure your boom is secure, make sure the strap is in good condition. There's a lock here to remove your boom stay out of the way when you're operating the boom. Go through that later. Have all your other decals on here, your certification, the same as the ones on in the cabin, and your other decals as well. And most importantly is your ID plate, which has all the information of the machine. Check all the way down the length of the boom. Have a look at the cylinders. Make sure there's no oil leaks out of the cylinders or hoses, and all leak around the turret area and the slewing area. There's two ways of opening in the rear door. We're going to show you both ways. Okay, so the first way I'm going to show you is to swing it open First of all, you have to make sure that the tail trips are open. So these are open now. I'm going to pull this pin out and release this bar, which holds the door secure up the top there. You must also do the same to the other side. Which releases this one here, but you'll see the hinge mechanism is still intact. I'm going to open this lock. Now I can open the door. Before tipping, you need to make sure that your door is securely locked here before tipping your bin, otherwise your door is just going to close. Okay, the second way to open your tailgate, again, make sure your gate trips are open. This time we're going to leave these so they're still secure, so the top's going to act as a pivot. We're going to take out this pin, which will sit in here. We're going to drop down this one. And now what we can find is this will actually pivot out like this when you tip up the bin. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the correct way to set up your machine. So first of all, we're going to start by chocking the rear wheels. Remove your stabilizer pads. Place it under the jack. Now I can lower this jack using these controls. I can do both sides. So the one closest to me is this side. When I'm pushing it, it turns to blue. And you want to have it, looking at your inclinometer, you want to try and have your truck as level as possible. It works anything below 5 degrees, so get it as level as possible. You'll see now this is activated, so I'll go around the other side, put my wheel chocks in and stabilizer pads for the other side. Again, the button's nearest to you for this leg. If I want to raise that one leg or make an adjustment, that is the other side. Have enough weight on your vehicle to make sure it's really stable, and again, look at your inclinometers to make sure you're nice and level. That is the first part of setting your truck up. Okay, man, my machine is all stable and we're set up on the level ground, which I'm happy with now. What I'm going to do now is I'll tell you what all these controls do, and we'll also do a quick fly just to listen for unusual noises or movements before we leave the yard. This is basically a pre-check fly from the service or emergency controls. So up here we have stop start, so I can stop the engine. I can also start the engine from here. We also have an emergency pump. In the event that the engine has run out of fuel or won't start, you can use the emergency pump to get you down, doing all the same operations as what your PTO pump would do. When you're using this, it should be 30 seconds on, 30 seconds cool down, unless it's an emergency where you'd use this continuously. I can raise my RPMs. That takes it to the next level RPM, which will be about 1000 RPM, or I can lower it down again. This is your boom override switch, and this basically allows you to raise your boom up without your legs being deployed when you want to empty your bin of green waste. And again, this one here indicates your boom angle, saying it's okay to raise your bin. If this isn't a light, your bin will not raise anyway. Going down to these controls, nothing will work until you do an activation. If I was going straight up into my bucket, I would raise that up where it's locked into place. All my hydraulic oil now is going to my bucket. I'd have my harness on and helmet, go into my bucket and fly it from there. What I'm going to do is just fly the boom from the lower controls. I push this lever forward for lower controls, and then always raise the outer boom first. You can raise this up. I'm listening for unusual noises or movements. These levers are all proportional as well. Then I can raise my lower boom. Just checking all movements. I can extend my boom using the third lever. Also retract. And then I can do counterclockwise rotations and clockwise rotations with this lever. And we're listening for unusual noises or unusual movements, oil leaks. When you're satisfied everything's okay, then you can fly your boom from your bucket. I can also raise and lower my platform. This is good if you ever have to do a recovery for an operator. These are your lower controls. This is your outer boom rest. You need to ensure that this is tucked away every time you use your boom. You do this basically because if there is an incident where the operator needs to be brought down to the ground because of an incident, or if he needs to come down to the ground to unload his bucket and everything, this has to be out the way so the boom can drop between this cutout to lower the operator down that side, or the cutout over there in between the bin and the handrail to lower the operator down this side between the steps. If this isn't out the way, the boom will not lower to the ground. So just ensure this is all out the way to enable you to do that. Okay, I'd like to explain the bucket controls now and their functions. So we have your main joystick here. It's a Unitrol single joystick, which does multiple operations. To extend your boom, everything has to be done initially by a dead man. So extend your boom is you'll push your control lever to your left and slowly squeeze the dead man. This is all proportional, so the more you squeeze it, the faster you're going to go. To retract your boom, you pull it to your right and again squeeze the dead man. For clockwise rotation, you move the controls away from you and then slowly squeeze the dead man. For counterclockwise rotation, pull it towards you and slowly pull the dead man. To raise your boom, you lift up your joystick, the handle, and again slowly pull your dead man. And to lower your outer boom, you push it down and again slowly push your dead man. That is basically your main boom with your outer boom controls. To raise your lower boom, you have a joystick here which is locked in position. You raise it up on the spring-loaded lock here, and to raise your outer boom or lower boom, you push this one forward again proportionally, and to lower it, you pull it backwards again proportionally. This is when you let this go, this will lock into place. To rotate your platform, raise up the locking mechanism and slowly rotate it. Your bucket will then rotate round, and if you want to go counterclockwise, pull it towards you, again proportionally, and that will rotate counterclockwise. To do a bin empty or a operator recovery, you can actually do it from the bucket using this control. This will raise and lower your platform, raise the locking mechanism up, push forward to lower your platform, and then to raise your platform back to horizontal, pull it towards you and it will raise it. Again, when you release it, it will lock into the central position automatically. You have an emergency stop button here. If there's it's moving uncontrollably, for example, you can push down on this and it stops all hydraulic functions. To return to hydraulic functions, pull that up. You have 3 air switches down here. You have a start stop, so push this one down. The engine will start. Push it down again, it will stop. That's great, isn't it? You also have a backup pump. You use this in case of your engine not starting or your PTO failure. This uses the same hydraulic oil but a different pump and an electric motor. 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. This one is your idle high and idle low. When the engine has started, you can push this down and it will go to the next speed idle, which is 1000 RPM, or press it again, it will lower down to the 800 RPM. Your final switch here is your tool switch with your tool outlets positioned here. To press this on, switch this on, simply push it forward. Over here you have your harness connection. This is a one-man bucket, so only one person will connect onto this. And that is your bucket controls. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how we can raise the bin without putting your outriggers down, and you raise your boom straight up to avoid contact with your bin. This is purely for dumping the load of waste that you have in your bin without putting your legs down, so you can drive your truck forward. So we're engaged the PTO, my system's available. Engage the PTO, PTO is now on, along with my beacons. I can switch them off if I want, because I'm not only on site tipping my bin. There's 2 ways of tipping your bin. You can come through here into the bin, raise up or down. I shall disconnect my towel trip. We can't tip it up at the moment because my boom is in the way. So I have to go and raise my boom up by doing an override outside, which I shall now show you. So the first thing we have to do is come up to our service controls here. I'm going to select the lower controls, push this one down, and you always raise your outer boom first, because otherwise it's just going to push down into your cab cage. But I need to do a boom override because my legs aren't down. So I hold the boom override switch up and I raise my boom. As soon as that's off the cab cage, I will now raise my lower boom. And I'll raise that until this light has come on here. This light indicates that the boom is high enough for the bin to be raised. So I can now let go of the levers and I'll go downstairs and show you the 2 places you can raise your boom from. Okay, this is one of the places you can raise your bin. As you see, the lights here are green, saying that it is now able to be raised. If it is red, like the outriggers are, then it wouldn't be. So I can hold this, and as I'm holding that, the bin will slowly raise. When I let go of the button, it turns to blue, green again, but the bin will stop. This configuration is on the other side as well, so you can raise it from the other side, but you can also raise it from the cab, which I will show you how to do now. So as you can see in the bin screen, the boom is now blue, meaning it's clear of the bin. We can see that our tail trip is activated by the green lock there, and now I can raise my bin up. So I raise my bin, you'll see this is being activated, so we can raise the bin all the way up. I know that it's going to miss the boom because the boom is out the way. The door, depending on how I've got the door set, will swing open and I can tip all my waste out. And I'm able to drive forward as well. If you have to work under a bin, you need to put your bin prop down. And you'd work under here for greasing, servicing, cleaning the chassis, any debris that's got on there. So first thing I need to do is release the bin prop. That should swing down over your stay. This needs to be done by one person. I'll come over here to lower my bin, and I'll lower my bin until my prop is activated. Now I know it's safe to work on. I can come in this area, carry out the work I need to do, knowing that I'm safe. We have a 2500 watt inverter in here. You'll see here there's a three-way switch, 2, 0, 1. When it's on 2, this unit can be switched on and off from your smart truck in the cab. I recommend you leave it on 2 because if you do leave something on charge and you switch off the ignition, this will automatically shut down. 0 is completely off, and in the 1 position, it draws power directly from the battery. So again, if you leave it in 1 position, charging your tool batteries or whatever, and you forget about it overnight, you could come back in the morning to a flat truck battery. So recommend always leave it in 2. You have a decal on the end wall there, which shows you the maximum single use time is roughly about 8 minutes if you're pulling full load off this inverter, and that's without the engine running. You start the engine up of the truck. This vehicle is equipped with a vise. To use your vise, remove your locking pin, drop your vise down, place your locking pin back in, secure it. Now you can use your vise. This vise obviously opens and closes, and it will swivel. You have an air outlet here where you can put in an air line, blow away debris or whatever you're using your vise for. What you must ensure is on completion of your vise, using your vise, make sure it is tucked away safely and securely before leaving the yard or the site where you used it. In the event of an emergency where you lose your ignition, your engine is now off, your PTO is disengaged, so your boom is now inactive. We have put in an override system which comes directly off the battery. This is only to be used in emergencies. There's a box up here which shows emergency operations only. Open this one up and you'll see there's an on and off button. Switch the button to on. This red light will come up saying it's powered on. We can do a bin rescue. As you can see, the bin is slightly up. So I'm going to do a bin rescue. Just press this button down and it will drop the bin all the way down. Make sure there is no fingers or arms or anything in between the bin and the toolbox. As soon as that's all the way down, which is now, I can release that and I can press to boom. I now want to recover my boom. I switch that up on boom, and then I need to go to the upper controls, the service controls or the emergency controls to rescue my boom. I now should have an active emergency pump, which I do. I can use my lower controls here bring down my lower boom using my emergency pump. If I have to rotate it, this one's lining up pretty well, I can rotate it as well. Bring that one down, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for cooling. Hold that lever, bring my other boom down. Might have to retract it just a little bit. And bring it down. And then I can recover my legs, which I'll show you next. Okay, now that I've rescued my bin, my boom, I switch this down to legs, and I can rescue my legs. In order to do this, I must climb up to the turret again and just purely operate my emergency pump, which will raise both passenger and driver side legs. Again, I will use the pump 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off until my legs are totally retracted. Now I've tucked away my machine, it's all ready to be towed off site, back to a workshop, and the faults rectified. Okay, now we've finished our work on site, I'm now going to do a post check, make sure the machine is still okay, collect up all tools and everything I've used, stabilizer pads and everything, and ensure that I connect the boot or tie the boom back down before travelling. So we'll start around this area. I'm making sure my tyres are okay, fit for the road, no flat tyres, all indicators are still aligned, no oil leaks or anything around here. The emergency stop, not broken, all my controls are operational. Just put away my stabilizer pad, toolbox doors are closed, all my tools are inside. Make sure that's locked. I will just jump up here and put the boom strap on while I'm in this area. Always put your boom strap on before you drive away. Make sure that's nice and secure. My critical bolts still aligned, my turret bolts still aligned. Pick up my wheel chocks, place them away, make sure they're securely placed. Check my rear wheel nuts are all aligned. Tires, no damage to the tires and still inflated. Coming round here, make sure my door's locked. Spring, my tailgate are locked. No damage to my lights. Walking round, all the bars, levers are all in position, all locked up. Pick up these wheel chocks and make sure they're securely placed. Checking the tightness. Looking at my rear wheels, inner and outer, no flats, no tears or damage to the tyres. Wheel nuts are all tight and my wheel rim is okay. Batteries all secure, no damage around there. Toolbox nice and tight. Pick up my stabilizer pad and put this away, making sure it's nicely securely stowed. Make sure that's locked up. Handrails, no damage to my handrails. Toolbox is nice and secure. Vice, haven't used it today, that's all stowed away, no problems there. Emergency stop's good, all my controls are good. Working onto the wheel here, wheel nut indicators, wheel rim, tyre, all inflated, no damage to the cab, everything looks okay. We're good to leave site. Okay, in your service and installation manual, and you have two hard copies, one in a folder and one in a booklet like this. You have your service procedures, so maintenance and inspections. This section runs you through all your maintenance, which you should be doing every 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, etc. Tells you what you should be checking. The second part shows you your maintenance or your critical fasteners and welds, which you'll also be checking. Then it goes into a maintenance and inspection check sheet and record. So everything it tells you to do on here, you should be checking at the periods where it says, like this one is every 3 months or 250 PTO hours, and 6 months, etc., etc. It tells you how to do some brief adjustments, what your boom actual speed should be, and recommended hydraulics oils, etc., etc. It even tells you troubleshooting. So as I said, this manual should be left into the cab, and you should read this before operation. There is some greasing to do on the machine, very little, because most of the bearings are maintenance-free bearings. The grease points are around your slew gear, where you will see grease nipples for your slew gear itself, inner and outer bearing. And that's basically the only greasing you have to do on this machine.